going live, and I think we're really, really live now. I love this every single time. Do you really want to go live? Yes, please. Do you really, really want to go live?
Are you really
sure? Well, this is how it's going to go today. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Reading Across the Shelf. Today, we are talking about Asian inspiration in books and Asian authors and generally the whole, not just Asia, but really more the APAC region of books and authors. And I'm super excited to be joined by Jake and his girlfriend Stacey and by Lana from Lore and Lullabies today. And I thought we'd start off with a quick round of introduction. Jake and Stacey, why don't you start?
All right, I'm Jake from the channel Bookish Drummer, and I have a very special person with me today, my girlfriend Stacey, all the way from Canada.
I don't have a channel, but I'm Stacey. Hey.
Just as a side note, you may know her from the Wizardly Duo Discord. She's very active in there.
Yes.
So Stacey, the face may not, or the name may not mean anything to you, but if you put those together, I think a lot of people will be like, like I was.
Maybe, yeah.
Lana, how about you?
I'm Lana. I'm from Australia, and I run the channel Lore and Lullabies. Yeah. Great intro.
We're keeping it short today. We want to talk about books, not about ourselves. We got it. Well, hi, Evie.
Evie.
Awesome. All right. Before we dive into talking about books about Asian inspiration, just a quick call out. The next round of Reading Across the Shelf for June will have the topic LGBTQT representation in authors. So if that's something anyone generally is interested in, let me know. We have some spots left for the live show to talk about books with LGBTQT representation or books by authors that fall into the LGBTQT group. So let me know. And July is starting to form. It's looking like Middle Eastern inspiration for July. So if that is something you're interested in, definitely also let me know. I'm happy to have you all on board. But for today's session, let's talk about Asian books, Asian authors, books by Asian authors, and I clearly can't talk on this fine Saturday afternoon over here. And generally why we love this topic in books and why we like to read books that have Asian inspiration or books by Asian authors. Jake and Stacey, do you want to let us know?
Sure. I think I've obviously, since I'm on the live show, I've loved reading books with by Asian authors that are Asian inspired. But in the past, I noticed, like going back from like 2017, I noticed I was just kind of reading the same authors over and over again, like George R. R. Martin, Brandon Sanderson, Jim Butcher, just kind of reading the same ones over and over again. And just by branching out and trying new things, I've come to learn like what I don't like and what I do like. And one of the things that I've noticed that I've loved so far is Asian authors. I've loved reading books by Asian authors. Haruki Murakami is one of them. And we're obviously going to be talking a lot about the ones that we know and love. And I think Stacey loves a lot of Asian authors too.
I do. So I originally found the fantasy online booktube community through Shelf Space. And right away, like one of the first buddy reads on Shelf Space was Poppy War. And I just dove right in. And ever since then, like I've found several things to love within adult Asian fantasy specifically. I tend to find that the pacing suits me well. And I also love that most of the protagonists are very reactive and expressive, or at least that's a trend that I've kind of come across, which I really enjoy. So
that's very true. Yeah.
Yeah. It just led to me seeking out more and more and more and more and liking more and more.
Yeah.
Awesome.
For me, as a Polynesian, I didn't see any of myself in my books, but I found like close rep in Asian inspired literature, especially in Japanese and like the samurai and all of that. I was obsessed as a kid. Before I moved over here, to Australia. When I lived in New Zealand, I had like 16 katanas. Like I was just obsessed with anything Japanese initially. And then when I found more and more like fantasy and the stuff that I loved, then I sort of started branching out into other regions of Asia. But yeah, it all just started from when I was young. I was just obsessed and I always wanted to be Japanese. I was like, why do I have to be Polynesian? Why can't I be Japanese?
Did you ever live in Japan, or are you wanting to live in Japan?
No, it just wouldn't work out with the fams. But I really, really, really want to go there, like so badly. So badly want to go there. And I have like Taylor over there now, so I have an extra reason to go. So
very good.
One day.
Booktuber traveled to Japan at one point. Hey, Andrew.
Andrew.
Stacey, he gives you a little bit of a warning here, just so you know. That they don't bite. Please not on camera. We're and then Evie recently finished The Mina by Natsume Soseki. Hopefully I'm pronouncing this right. Apologies, please. And just finished yesterday a collection of stories by, I'm not even trying, Pyun Hae-young. I'm sorry. I try. And Andrew, yes, married a Chinese woman, been to Taiwan and China. Very nice. Yeah, that is definitely a destination for me. Mostly Japan too. So for me, it's also a recent interest, really. When I was doing my master thesis was about a Japanese company and how a Western main company can be successful in Japan. So I did a lot of reading and discovery about Japanese culture and how Western cultures would have to adapt in the Japanese market to be successful. And I just loved what I was reading and how their culture is set up and what their traditions are and all of those kind of things. And that's kind of how I started being interested more and looking proactively more for Asian-inspired books and realizing that, you know, we will talk about a lot, but in the bigger things of things, there are not that many when you look at all Asia with representation from all Asia. So it's really, I think, a good topic to talk about and point those out that you have accessible, especially translated to English. Yeah. And then, yeah, Ken Liu being one of the newer ones that I've heard about. I know he has been around for a while with short stories and translating and editing short story collections. But his novels are talking about his novels. Yeah, Ken Liu is big at the moment in the YouTube community, which I really, really love. I really like his books. All right, talking about books, we are jumping right on in. So the big thing for today's session is to talk about our favorite books, obviously, from Asian authors or with Asian inspiration. And I thought we could just go round robin and share our favorite books one at a time. We want to go the other way around, starting with Lana this time, maybe.
Okay. I'm just trying to like grab some. I actually don't have as many as I would like physical copies. But I think number one, because this is the first 6-star that I've ever given in my whole entire life.
That was perfect timing then.
Got that one too. Oh.
I'm throwing books, it's fine.
I know Stacey loves this one.
I do.
I ugly cried so many times. So many times. I was bawling and just cursing Lena the whole entire time because she got me onto that book years ago. And then mine are very standard.
Yep.
Greenbone Saga, and then I also really like Rinchipeko.
Okay.
I love their especially this one. I love witchy vibes, and it's YA, but it's not super YA, so I can still get down with it. But yeah, those are probably, I'm probably forgetting, well, obviously I haven't finished reading this one, but what I have read, as you can see from the tabs, I love. But yeah, just all of them. But those are the ones that I physically have, thanks to Evie for this series. But yeah, those are the ones that I have that I absolutely adore.
Does Cradle or Thousand Lie count? I actually don't know. Is Cradle, does it have an age? I haven't read it yet.
It does have Asian inspiration.
So
So
then,
yes, that would count too. And Cradle.
there you go. That counts too. If you would have to pick a favorite from those that you just mentioned, which one would you say, like, read this? This is a great
Oh,
book.
hands down, Sword of Kaigen.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's what you pick, right?
Yeah, well, it's just one of those fantasy novels that's great for different types of fantasy readers. Like, it has enough action, but it's not completely action focused. It has enough plot, but it's not completely plot focused. And then the character work is just phenomenal. So.
And just because I haven't read it, I have it on my Kindle forever, but how it always is with ebooks that you have on your Kindle for forever and you never get to, is Sword of Kaigen is a complete Asian-inspired setting, right? I mean, besides the author having Asian roots, but it's a completely Asian setting with Asian mythology as the base, right?
Yeah, and elemental magic as well.
Gotcha. Awesome. She wrote also a couple of short stories, right? Or some series in the same world or something.
Yeah, her young adult novels are set in the same world. I haven't read those, but I've been told they're not as good.
Okay, well then moving those to the side then.
I actually haven't read that.
Isn't that a new release too? That just came out, right? The cover is really beautiful of that one.
Oh, stunning. There are heaps of so many beautiful covers for Asian inspired like fantasy coming out at the moment. It is amazing, but my priority is self-pub, so
yeah,
I'm like, they just go onto the back list.
Yeah. Andrew said earlier too, on the self-pub side, there is Blood of the Outcast too, that is Japanese inspired. There's part of SPF B08.
It is.
And that's 3 times fast. Jeez. What else? The Vanished Birds. All time. Jimenez is Filipino American. Oh, okay. I've never heard of that one. Hang on. My page is already half full again, just with book names. And as always, I can't talk and write at the same time. Nothing but Black and Teeth. Wait, what? Is that a book title? Sorry, Andrew. Evie is reading it right now. Daughter of the Moon Goddess. Oh no, next month. Sorry, next month. Well, that would be something to get started on.
Oh yes, it's giving me like Ring vibes. No wait, is it the Ring that I'm thinking of? It's by Cassandra Core. It's like a creepy haunted house tale steeped in Japanese folklore.
Which one?
The Nothing But Black and Teeth.
Oh, that is by Cassandra Core. I have read Food of the Gods, Food for the Gods, one of those by her, which is more an urban fantasy, Malaysian inspired. So it plays in Kuala Lumpur and uses a mix of Chinese, Malaysian, and even Greek mythology as part of the urban fantasy story.
Cool. Very
interesting. Okay, that is a horror novella. Interesting. Doesn't Cassandra Core, because she lives in Malaysia, doesn't she also write for what? Is it Star Wars or for one of those game enterprises? Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Multi-talented.
All righty, Stacey, how about you?
Well, I have 2 that Lana already mentioned for sure. Jade City and the other way.
The other way.
Sword of Kaigen, of course. One that I mentioned in the intro, Poppy War.
Yep.
Then one of my all-time favorite thrillers is a Japanese thriller that's been translated. It's called Confessions.
By Kanema.
What's that about?
Yeah. So this one is in a school setting. It's following a school teacher who is on a mission for revenge.
That one's a good one to not know much about it going into it.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Is that because she reads thriller and also something outside of fantasy? Hey, Kayla.
Hey, Kayla.
Awesome. Jake, how about you?
So, like she already said, Poppy War, one of my favorite fantasy trilogies. I love that. And then The Bone Shard Daughter. I love this. I still need to read the second book, but The Bone Shard Daughter is.
Dang it, Jake!
I'm
How
sorry.
did I forget about the Bone Shard Daughter? I looked at it this morning too when I was like grabbing books.
Mhm.
I was like, where are all my Asian inspired books?
Oh, the
Forgot
U
those
was
two.
for Puppy War. Okay, that's fair enough. I mean, I haven't read it. I don't know.
Yeah, Andrew did not like the Poppy War at all.
Well, Andrew can be wrong all he wants to.
Yeah.
I respect your wrong opinion.
But it seems that, going back to Puppy War, it seems that there is a pretty big divide on people either really liking it or
Yeah.
really not liking it. So
Yeah.
at one point I have to read it too, and then I'll see where I fall under.
I think it all relies on what you think of the main character, Rin. Because I know Andrew did not like that series because of Rin.
Yeah.
But we both liked it because of Rin. So she's basically like the catalyst of whether you're going to love it or whether you're going to hate it.
It depends on whether you're a kind of reader who needs to be able to root for the character you're reading for, I think.
Yeah.
If you
Gotcha.
need to be able to root for the main character, Poppy War may not be for you.
Because she's a very frustrating character. So she makes decisions that she shouldn't be making, and you're just like, what are you doing? But that's the fun of it. But Andrew's just like, eh. Like, why don't you just do this, and that?
Andrew's too logical for that book. Got it. And I thought the arbiter of truth is Ellen, Andrew. He has impeccable taste. Well, you didn't like Green Riders, so I don't know. I don't know if I can agree with that.
Oh no.
I didn't love it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't care enough to continue with the books. Well, fair enough, I guess. I think if it is a story, as you say, that is very that lies on the shoulders of the main character and you just don't vibe with it, well, yeah.
Yeah.
See? Alrighty. Okay, so if you had to pick Stacey and Jake from the books that you just talked, that would be your favorite. Which one would?
Oh, Sword of Kaigen, hands down.
All right, that's twice now. Sword of Kaigen twice.
For me, if I was going fantasy, I would go Poppy War. But if I'm going just like one of my all-time favorite authors, I'd have to go Haruki Murakami, Hard-Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World. He's not fantasy. He's more like magical realism. And
Cool.
books are just, they're like an acid trip sometimes. They're just all over the place, but I love it. I know Stacey does not like it.
I'm not a fan of magical realism, so as a genre, like the way it is, just how things generally aren't explained, how the characters are not necessarily very reactive to what's happening, or like they're not questioning like, why is this happening? What's going on? You know, I kind of need that element, I think, if it's not going to be logical.
It's definitely not logical.
Yeah, so it's not really my cup of tea.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
okay. You can enjoy it.
Jake, have you read Sword of Kaigen? We have another vote for Sword of Kaigen here.
I made him.
Yeah, she made me read it. I really liked like the middle chunk of it, but I will be honest, the first like 4 chapters, if I hadn't known the hype for it, I probably would have DNF'd it, just because there was so much exposition. But once you get past that, it gets really good.
Okay. Isn't it Sword of Kaigen too that some sort of family relationship is explored really well? Was it mother and kids? Father and kids?
Yep.
I mean, I'm blanking right now. Mother and kids. That's just really well done. Yeah. Alrighty. I guess I have to move this up. Got it. So for me, books, we mentioned already Grace of Kings. I've read that one. I'm still in the middle of the second book. I'm blanking on the name right now. Wall of Storms. I'm 200 pages in. I had to put it aside for a moment because I needed something a bit quicker paced. But that is what I really liked about this one here. We are learning how to do this. Oh my God, it's like I'm doing this for the first time in my life. Is that it has such a vast world where not just Asian culture is explored, but predominantly really Asian culture is explored in that. And I love how that writing style differs and how he uses really the base of the Asian culture to explain the world they're living in. I'm terrible with names, so I don't even know what the world is called right now. Lana, since you're reading it, you probably still remember that. I don't anymore.
I'm shocking with names. Like I have to tab it and highlight it and underline it because otherwise I'm like, wait, where are we?
There's a map in the front somewhere, right? Hang on. Islands of Dara. There we go. But I really loved like the bits and pieces that he wove in on the two fractions between the two main characters, because they are very different. And what I loved about it is that you can really see how the Asian culture influences those two very different objectives. Hi, Kitty. And makes for a really interesting read. I don't think the book would have been as interesting if it would have been a Western culture setting, because it is pretty much the same old type of story with, you have two fractions, you have a lot of war, you have meddling gods, like all that type of thing. It's nothing really new, but because he wrote it based on the culture that he knows, it makes it so much different and so much more interesting, like kind of a new twist on a typical fantasy story. Okay, going back, sorry, there's a lot of conversation around Sword of Kaigen here on the chat. Idea of Sword of Kaigen in the middle of chapter 6.
Is that grounds for divorce, Evie? Because
yeah, Evie, you don't have a popular opinion here. But it matches with what Jake said, right? Then if that would be chapter 6, if that would be the first, 20%? Yeah. So Evie, maybe you have to pick it up again and just get over that section.
Yeah,
and
gotta push forward.
Just try again.
I haven't read LPQ either. Does that count? That has also multicultural environment, right? It's not just Western, but all over the world. Like it has influence from everything, if I remember reviews correctly.
What's LPQ?
Long Price Quartet.
Oh, yeah.
By Daniel Abraham.
Yeah. Second half of Grace of Kings won me over. Agreed. The first half is really a huge setup for everything, I think.
Yeah, it has a unique storytelling style for sure.
Yes, the writing style and the way he tells the story, definitely very. You either like it or you don't, I think. Nico was not a huge fan of it, if I remember correctly, from Nico's book review. But yeah, I loved it. I thought it was really, really great.
I had a little harder time with Grace of Kings as well. I think just the way that it laid out some of the climactic moments, I was just like, oh, I wanted more from that moment. And I think it was just like, for me, it was limited in the scope it was because of the storytelling style or storytelling. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just fine. Yeah. But he read, did he finish Wall of Storm? I think he finished, but it took him a little bit to get there. He's not, well, we have the live show, I think, tomorrow with them, with Nico and who's on that live show. Ian, Charmaine is, I think, on that live show. And we will hopefully hear, oh no, Nico might not be joining. I don't know. But I remember that he said, it was like, yeah, he finished it yesterday. Yeah, got it. Alrighty. Andrew has also Mortal Techniques and Maleficent 7. We're not even trying.
Yes, I want to read both of those. Very badly.
Wait, is that a book with a rose on the cover, or am I mixing this up? Like with a hand holding a rose?
Nah, I'm pretty sure it's just got like, they look like warriors or like samurai. They're like holding swords, and like the shadows is like the silhouette of them. And the background's like yellow and red, orange, something, but it looks so badass.
Okay, now I have to look this up.
That? Sorry.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Hang on, let's Google this really quickly. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, I had a completely different book in mind. The same one. All right, where was I? Grace of Kings. Yes, great book. Then I also had Bone Shard Daughter. And Jake, you have to read book 2 finally. I need someone to talk with.
I will.
By the way, I don't know if the paperback has that, but the hardback, if you go, is that one of those Google cover ones? When you go look at it with a Google Lens thing, it has one of those animated covers.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of nice.
Okay.
I really love that. I hope book 3 comes out soon. Early next year, I think.
Yeah.
You know what else Jake needs to read?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I need to read that also.
Me too.
Yes, Evie, thank you. That's completely different. Completely different book. Yes, Wolf of Oranjaro, the entire series is amazing. But similar to Poppy War probably, because it's very heavy on that main character and you get only her perspective. If you don't like the main character, you won't like the series. But if you're interested in what she goes through, which is Jesus a lot, really good series as well.
Awesome.
What else do we have? Reborn Empire. Is someone taking a list? I need to. I hope I can get the live chat later at one point.
Yeah.
Was a self-pub and got picked up by Orbit. The Wolf of Oranjaro one, or also I know that one was a self-pub and got picked up by Orbit. Or do you mean the Reborn Empire, Andrew? Probably both. Devin Betson, that's the Reborn Empire. Yeah.
I also just wanted to mention that for fantasy books like Bone Shard Daughter, the settings are also just very unique. Like, and if you look at the maps for a lot of them, like for Bone Shard Daughter, like this is not like a typical fantasy map that you would find in like a classic fantasy. Like you've got like a lot of island hopping going on. So that's another reason why I like Asian fantasy, just because usually the setting is just very unique.
That is very true.
And the world building in general.
Yeah, I love Fondalee's world building. The way she does it, she kind of just weaves like a description here or there in one sentence, and it's not like chunky and like I have a hard time visualizing when I read, so I don't prefer chunks of description, but like she's one of my favorite world builders for sure. Because she gives you a vivid picture but doesn't overwhelm you.
Yeah.
Not a lot of info dumping.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what that is for, but there you go, Jake.
What?
But he respects you anyway.
A little inside joke.
Gotcha. All right. And then one of the other books going just a little bit into the sci-fi genre, which I keep talking about, is Machinehood by S.B. Divya, which is an Indian author, and it's Indian inspired. That's more sci-fi near future with basically a conversation around technology versus religion in the near future, when you live in a world that is basically led by AI, where robots are taking over the jobs and humans have to compete with robots for jobs and stuff like that. And I really liked it. First of all, it's one book. It's not a long series. We have way too many series that we have to read. But I love this one, and I keep recommending it if you like sci-fi in general or want to try sci-fi. That is a really, really good one that I really enjoyed. That is one of the books that I really want to read. On the Burning Throne. First of all, that cover is gorgeous too.
The whole series.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Yeah. Yes, Andrew, that counts. Yeah.
For anyone who reads contemporary romance, I really enjoy Helen Huang's books too. Like Kiss Quotient series.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to look that up too.
Kindle.
Yeah. And then if we go into, I don't know if it is contemporary fiction or if it falls under nonfiction. It's kind of a biography, but not direct story, but based on real events. It's the A River in Darkness. I forgot what the book is called, but go ahead.
I was just gonna say I've read that one before.
Yeah,
it's very depressing.
Yes, but I thought it was really well written, the way he told his story. So for those of you who don't know, it's about a guy who grew up in North Korea, and basically his story of the escape, like he was fleeing out of North Korea. And the majority of the part is really about his life in North Korea. And he's telling us how people live there and how they get food, how work is assigned to them, and just generally how you live your life and how you build a family there. And it felt so, I don't know, I remember sitting there and it felt so foreign, like something really far away, but it's happening now in North Korea. I mean, the book is, I don't know, 10 years old or something, but it is a current story. And he was basically telling or explaining how they're building their houses and how they are farming the food themselves for themselves. And like, it feels, like times years ago, and not something that would currently
Yeah.
happen. And it was scary and fascinating to read this and to think through. People really live this way, and I mean, this is really what's happening today. And yeah, it was very interesting, very well written too. And I thought also, what I try to not read books like this because they tend to be very sensationalized. I didn't think this book was. I thought it was his experience without being kind of overwhelmingly like, oh my God, everything is bad, but he kept it more on the neutral side. So also a really, really good book to read. If you like. Again, I don't know if it falls under fiction or non-fiction in that regards. I remember it was inspired by not exact retelling or something. Wait, hang on. I'm losing the chat here. There we go. Tasha Muir or something. Is that the why can't I think of the title right now? Are you looking up Tasha Muir right now? Necromancer in Space, is that one?
That's Tamsin Muir.
Ah, dang it.
But you're close.
You can type Tasha Muir. There we go. Do you mean Tasha Zuri, the Jasmine Throne? Isn't that also India inspired?
I believe it is.
And then what else do we have here? Devoured by Indra Dust is a fantasy horror book that I've been wanting to read for a while, turning the story by the author and myth retelling mythology. Yep. Okay.
Actually, I recently just got a Asian inspired horror as well. I can't remember what it's called though. What's it called? Go down.
Evie has read a lot of Asian authors recently because Evie, I know I bought a bunch of books because of you. And of course now I'm not finding it. One is called The Hole, but I'm blanking on the author's name. I saw, Evie, I think you either bought the book and showed it off on social media somewhere, or you read it, or you read one book from the author, and I liked that one. It has like a tree on the cover. I think it's called The Hole. That one. And then another one, Evie, that you got me going on. And I don't know if you sent me that or if that was based off of something you put on social media and then I got down a rabbit hole. That is another one that I want to read, Human X. It's also more fiction based on I'm reading from the back right now, based on a violent student uprising in South Korea. And one student that was killed during that. And that book is about one of the survivors and the mother of the boy who got killed and their story. Yeah, so that is also one of those that I definitely want to read. There are some great just general fiction books when it comes to Asian. I remember not some fiction, that's more romance. The Crazy Rich Asians that were all the hype at one point, including the movie. That was also a good one. The Whole was written by, here we go, Pyun Ha-young. Oh, that you mentioned that earlier. Well, there you go. Yeah, but that one sounds also really interesting.
I find like I want to read, Evie's probably like the authority on this, but I really want to read a lot more Asian inspired horror and thrillers. I feel like they're just done so well.
Yeah,
so well, and they don't like hold back, whereas a lot of like Western horror does. Like it's terrifying in a different way. It's more like psychologically F's you up than like I feel like a lot of Western horror that I've read is more like cut and dry, or it's like more slasher or like that. But like when you finish, like when I finished a couple of like both thrillers and horrors, particularly Japanese, I haven't read too many from like the rest of APAC, but like it sticks with you and you're like,
Yeah.
like just rocking back and forth a little bit. And I love that. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Confessions did that for both of us, I
Yeah.
think.
Especially like after the end of chapter 1, even.
Yeah.
Just like a huge bombshell. You're like, what?
Yeah, that's a moment I audibly gasped when I read that book, like several times.
Yep.
And I'm not a very reactive reader. Like if somebody else is in the room and I'm reading, they may not know what I'm reading, but that's when we're like,
Yeah.
it was obvious. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Evie, you're the authority now because you posted so much about Asian authors recently. So, yep. Yes, The Vegetarian by Han Kang is his more famous book, I guess. But Human X sounded more interesting when I looked that up.
Mm.
And then a question for you, Lana. Did you figure out that horror you were trying to remember?
That one.
Valley of Terror.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Not even going to try and say that.
But
it's translated as well. So I'm like, whenever they translate it, it's either really good or it's the translation's bad. But.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's tricky because I mean, especially in general, all Asian languages are just so different with the sentence structure and just the way you say certain things. I don't want to be in that translator's shoes. I already think when I translate something from German to English in my head, that's already a whole thing. And Japanese is like 10 times worse, or general Asian is 10 times worse. Yeah. Yeah. That hopefully they could get paid well because they're doing an amazing job if they're doing it well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to the point on Asian like horror type of mythology, take a look at the Cassandra Claw that we talked earlier about, the Food for Gods one. Yes, it's urban fantasy, but the mythology that they include in there is really interesting. A lot of gore, a lot of very snarky too, so it balances it out a little bit. But that is a really good one. It's not a horror book, but it's a very good one in that regards. It's a two book series. It's like Food for Gods and The Last Supper Before Ragnarok, I think is the second book.
Sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, they're really fun. They're really fun, but it's all sorts of weird. But talking about horror, this is something that Leslie from the Nerdy Narrative got me excited about. This is,
yes.
Also a new release about Japanese American camps in World War II. And I think Leslie read it already, and she said it's amazing. That's gorgeous. But that is one. I mean, me and horror is always difficult, but enjoying. Am I going to survive the confessions, Jake?
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah. It has dark moments, so just be prepared for that, but it's good.
Okay. If you have nightmares, I'll keep you up all night too.
But awesome. The mythology in the horror is so good and so unique, like stuff that I've never even heard of before. Like, has anyone read Hungry Daughters of Starving Mothers? It was it's like really, really short. I think it won, let's have a look. Won 2015 Nebula Award for Best Short Story by Alyssa Wong.
You can buy it, if it's a short story, you can buy it for $18 off of Amazon. Well, it has 300
in like the Nightmare magazine.
Oh, interesting. Why does it have 336 pages then? Oh, and other stories. Yeah, if you can read Josephine, that would be helpful. Interesting. No. But I feel that's similar to movies too. Like if we even go outside of books, if I think of Japanese horror movies, I always have a very different creepy feeling about them than when you think about typical Western type of things. And I feel there's a lot of, I don't know if indie type movie is the right description for that, but a lot of non-mainstream Japanese horror movies that are just all sorts of messed up.
Yeah, if you think of like American horror stories, you think of something like Friday the 13th or Halloween, where you've got serial killers coming after you.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah. And if you think of like Asian horror movies, you think of something like The Ring or The Grudge. Way, way different.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah, The Ring was not good. I should have known.
The Grudge was also like, maybe because I was a lot younger, but I was terrified. And because my cousins are very much into Asian inspired anything as well. So I wasn't allowed to watch the American one. If I watched the American one and then like the original, I think I would have been fine. But because I watched them in the opposite direction, I was terrified.
The Tale of Genji, classic Japanese literature. Jesus, Evie. All right. I didn't know it was based on a book. Oh, I didn't know that either.
Neither.
I don't want to read it though. I just need to think of that girl crawling out the TV, and I'm like, nope, no. We're good. But
One that's been adapted that I want to read is called Audition by Rio Murakami.
That is a movie that I will never forget. Oh my god. It's not even the whole movie, it's just like the last 15 minutes is just such a build up to the last 15 minutes, and it is messed up. and it's from a book too, so
yeah, it's been adapted.
Gotcha. I just remember on The Ring, was it The Ring or was that one of the other movies? They had the American more streamlined version, and then there is it is actually even based on a different movie that was even more messed up that they never translated or something. But something rings in the back of my head there.
Yeah, I think The Ring and The Grudge were both originally like Japanese movies, and then I think the director from the Japanese version, he made the American version, or if it wasn't The Ring, it was The Grudge. But either way,
yeah. But that was also a trend, right? Like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, whenever The Ring came out, there was a big trend at that time for Japanese horror movies.
Yep, definitely.
Are we that old?
Oh no.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah, The Ring came out I think in like 2003, 2002, so
that is 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on from that thought.
I have an existential crisis here.
Yes. Oh yeah, a conversation the other day with Nate, and we were talking about something like we were talking about food trucks and what is older, the ice cream truck or the hot dog truck or something. And we realized the hot dog truck's 1936, and it's like, that doesn't sound that long ago, but it's nearly 100 years. It's,
yeah.
No. Yeah, order one for us too, Evie, please. A walker and an AARP card. Oh my goodness. Okay, thoughts. Sorry. So what's the next Asian book you're going to read? Asian inspired book or Asian author book that you're going to read?
Well, I can jump in because I just recently hauled one. Jake is taking me book shopping at his local Second and Charles and a few other places. And one that I picked up was Gates of Stone.
Oh, that's a gorgeous cover.
So I haven't heard much about it on book 2, but I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Is that a standalone or a series?
It's the first book in a series, I believe.
Gotcha. That's kind of a redundant question in fantasy anyway, right?
Yeah.
I think the series is called A Lord of the Islands, I think. Or Lord of the Islands? Yeah.
Yeah. The cover is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Probably the next fantasy series I want to try is The Wolf of Oranjaro. I think I started it like a few months ago. We were going to buddy read it, but I think we got busy.
We just got overwhelmed by our current TBRs.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you don't say Bone Shard Emperor, Dina might have me.
Oh, I didn't even. Yeah.
I'll read it eventually.
Well, by now you can wait till book 3 comes out, and then you can binge read all of them.
Yeah.
Probably better anyway. Because I think I want to reread book 1 and 2 before reading book 3. There's so much happening.
Mm-hmm.
I had a hard time because I didn't reread book 1 when I read book 2, and I forgot a lot of things. So for book 3, I'll probably do all of them together, and then. Yep.
That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
And if you reread, I can get in on a buddy read with you because I still haven't read it.
Yeah.
But I own the first book.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely. I think you would like it. It's a good one. It has descriptions in it, but it's not like info dumpy in the sense of, you have to understand everything. There's a lot going on that helps with that. I
It's
think.
more like the multiple POVs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm good with that.
A bit full on, I've heard. I don't know. I loved it. But I also listened to it as I read along. So I could be like, this is a different person talking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think it is easier once you get further along. At the beginning of the trade, especially, there's one character where she doesn't even know who she is and where she's coming from and what's going on. And that adds to the confusion of, okay, I have also no clue what's going on right now. As you continue, and especially with book 2, it gets a lot better and a lot more easy in that regards. Okay, Evie is reading The Guardians of Aram by A. Eli Hassan Ali. I want to really prioritize it soon. Okay, that's your next. The Guardians of Aram. That sounds good too.
Yeah.
Evie is a dangerous person to follow. I'm just saying that. She reads interesting books. And every time I'm on her social media or I watch your channel, Evie, I was like, okay, 5 more books on my list. Thank you.
Yeah. Just have Goodreads open. Start marking things as want to read.
Yeah. Or, list.
Yeah.
Oh, this sounds amazing. Sorry, I'm just looking at what it's about.
Okay, now I have to look too. Pearl!
It's like Jinn and occultists.
Oh.
That sounds like my kind of read.
Oh, but isn't Jinn more Arabian Peninsula? That would fit well for the Middle Eastern one that I want to do in July. Yeah, the cover is gorgeous too. Middle Eastern is also a culture similar to Japanese, very unique. Anyway, different topic. Not too squirrely. Yes, thanks, Evie. Lana, what's your next book that you want to read?
I actually have a few. So I've just recently hauled this, The Blade's Edge by Virginia Mclean. That's part of the, what's it called? The Guy something. It doesn't have it. I've got like one of the old covers, which I actually prefer to the new ones. But yeah, so that one, thanks to Andrew, I now want to read the Maleficent 7, but also Lightblade by Zamil Akhtar. It's like the main character's like, it's like Pakistani or something. Yeah, I want to read that.
It is so good. I finished that a couple of weeks ago. So good. Have you seen the cover that he is launching it with?
So pretty. They like released it. I saw it, Spiffo release it, and I was like, wait, what? That's not the cover I have.
Yeah.
And I was like, Demille, what is this cover? Did I miss something? He's like, oh yeah, it was kind of leaked.
Yeah, he had an e-arc cover, and then he had a cover reveal a couple of weeks ago, I think. Yeah, Middle Eastern is Asian technically. Yeah, technically, you're right. Yes. Another buddy read, Lana, for you and Evie. There you go.
Yes, which one?
Was it The Guardians of Aram?
Because yes.
Anything, whatever. Yeah, Lightblade was amazing. It was so, oh my goodness. I just ordered the paperback because he just came out with released the paperback in, I don't know if he can do that worldwide or how that works, but in the US it's available. So you should check out, Lana, if you can get it in the.
I think I had a look. I did have a look and I put it on my wish list. But because I have bought like nearly 50 books this month.
Well, technically it comes out in June, so you have a little bit of time. You can move it into your June TBR.
Yeah.
And
But thankfully, like only a few. Yes.
Guardians of Aram.
I haven't quite hit 50 this month, so I feel like I'm doing good. The stack I have to bring home with me.
Yeah.
Well, you have to fly it home too.
Most
right?
of mine are ebooks.
Was it 50-pound weight limit for your suitcase?
Yep. I can have a carry-on of books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Who needs clothes? Just put it all books in there. Interact with Jake. To buddy read Jade City with me. Yeah, that's also one of the books where I'm still sitting here. It's like, do I want to read it or do I not want to read it?
You want to read it?
I haven't read it yet either, so.
It's so good. It is so good.
I think there's just been like false expectations put out because a lot of people have said that series is like very fast paced, very action packed. And they talk about like the martial arts in it. And I'm like, that stuff is there, but it's like 5% of the book. Like it's not the main draw.
Yeah, the thing that keeps me away from it is what I keep hearing is that mafia piece. And I'm not interested in mafia type of stories. So if that is a heavy piece, I'm like, I don't know if that's the right book for me. But
it is and it isn't.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, because for me, I don't like mafia either. Like, it's just not my jam. But I thought that I'd give it a go, and I really enjoy it. Like, there is, like, the mafia family aspect of it, but it is, like, described more as a family than a mafia. Like, obviously, they go into criminal things. But,
It's
like grim. Like, yeah, it's more, like, family-orientated than mafia, and it's like, I forgot about the mafia aspect, and it was more of just, like, a powerful family hierarchy. To me, that's how I thought of it.
Okay.
Gotcha. So see, being careful Jade City for the mafia aspect. Yeah. See, it's going to be a hit or miss for me. Like eventually at one point I'll be like, okay, now, and it's a mood read situation where I'm just grabbing it either from the bookshelf or grab it quick as an ebook and then start reading it. And either it's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. But that's what has been keeping me, that mafia aspect. Because I'm just like, oh. But then the relationship aspect, to your point, that's what everybody that talks about that side of it. It's like, ooh, that is actually something I really enjoy in books. So
I'd say definitely give it a try.
We'll do. If not that we have not enough books to read. Talking about books to read. So for me, I think besides the two that I held up with the fair, I don't even know how to pronounce this. This one is definitely on my next one, and then I have two other ones. One is also more fiction again. This is about the beauty standard in South Korea and how ridiculous it is. So more a fiction book, and then from a fantasy perspective, this one, it's a 4-book series, and that has like Niveau vibes for me. That has been out for a while too, the Tensword series, but it has more a little bit elaborate contemporary fiction in a fantasy world type of flavor to it. But they are all 4 very short books. So I thought, squeezing in between all the big things that are going on at the moment might be a good one.
So there's one other young adult fantasy debut coming out in September that I'm definitely interested in. It's called Monsters Born and Made, and I can try and show you guys the cover.
Ooh.
Oh, that is gorgeous too.
Yeah. I'm definitely interested in that one, but have to wait till September.
Oh, there was another YA that was released recently, something steeped in poison.
I know the one.
Something, and that cover was also or maybe the title is just Steeped in Poison. I don't know. No, a Magic Steeped in Poison, the Book of Tea series. It's a duology. And first of all, that cover is incredibly gorgeous too. So that would also young adult. That is really interesting. Yeah, Niveau is big. I've read her one of these short stories with a binary character that has a bunny on the cover.
Empress of Salt and Fortune, I think.
That one, yes. Magic Steeped in Poison, yes, there we go. And then Jade City, I also read it in the hype, so I think I tripped myself. Yeah, that's always the difficulty with hype books, right? Because everybody's like, I love it, and then you are the one like, not so much. Yeah, it is like that every now and then, but at least you tried, and now you know that you don't need to read it. It's also good. What was the Monsters Born? And sorry, I was trying to type it. Stacey, your book, Monsters Born and
Empress of Salt and Fortune.
No, the book that you want to read in September.
Sorry.
Jumping all over the place here.
Yes. Yeah, my Goodreads again. Monsters Born and Made.
Thank you.
No
That was a
problem.
gorgeous cover. I have to look that up too.
What
Awesome.
culture is that like?
I looked at it at the time and now I forget. I can't even remember what it's about. Just remember being like, oh yeah, I'm interested in that. It says South Asian, but it doesn't say where.
South Asian inspired fantasy, gripping debut about the power of the elite, the price of glory, and one girl's chance to change it all.
You scroll all the way to the bottom.
That does sound good.
Perfect for fans of dystopian fantasy, sea monsters, access to Rivals 2 ? Golden Boy and Pariah, deadly competition, angsty teenagers, female friendship.
Yeah, and it's like an island setting, so South Asian island setting makes me think possibly Philippines, maybe? But I don't know.
Well, sometimes it's hard to pinpoint. With Bone Shard Daughter, I couldn't tell you exactly where you would put it regionally either. Same with Grace of Kings or what's the other one that I had in mind? Oh, Wolf of Oranjaro. That is also one where it's like, it's Asia. You can clearly see it, but
Yeah. So the author of The Wolf of Oranjaro is Filipino-Canadian. So I'm assuming it's probably Philippines because I think they grew up there like the first few years of their life before they so
possible. She posts the cutest pictures of her and her kiddo on Instagram, the author. Alrighty, any book, any author that we didn't talk about in our long list of things? I have to figure out if I can export the live chat somehow. There are so many recommendations. Did we miss anyone or anything? Any author that is still worth talking about? Any book that is worth talking about?
There's oh, sorry.
No, you go.
There's a nonfiction memoir about another like escape from North Korea that I'm really interested in reading, and it's called In Order to Live. I think it's Yeonmi Park, maybe. But that one's I've heard really good things, and I'm really interested to read that one.
Is that like a newer one?
I think it's fairly new.
Okay.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Also to compare with the other one to see how that.
Yeah,
Like-
see how their experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can have my copy when I'm done with it.
Thank you, sweetie.
You're welcome.
Cute.
Probably the only one for me. I've had this on my shelf for so long. I don't know why I haven't picked it up because I hear amazing things about it. That's weird. It's upside down. But that's by Julie Kagawa.
Oh yeah, Shadow of the Fox.
Shadow of the Fox. I've heard so many good things about it, and I just haven't got to it yet. So that's actually another one that I need to read this year. Otherwise, I have to unhaul it, and it's too pretty to unhaul. So
yeah. Is there has anyone ever tried with just cut off the front page, frame it, and use it as art on your wall instead of throwing it away or giving it away? I don't know. No? Okay. Nah, I'm the only crazy person.
I would do that though. I would 100%.
Some of them, yeah, absolutely. Well, alrighty then. Okay. Well, thanks so much for joining. Thanks so much for sharing all these great book recommendations. My Amazon cart is going to have a nightmare situation and a nervous breakdown again after our call. Okay. Well, I realized that after the last time when we talked about mental health awareness, I bought a bunch of books, including a Hyperbole and a Half, Stacey, that you recommended. And I already read it. So
What did you think?
I loved it. I mean, I've seen some of the comics online, and I realized there was one of her images is one of the bigger memes that people keep using. I was like, of course, now I know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really good. I loved her humor a lot throughout the situations with the dogs. Also, how she described the depression was very interesting and done in a really good way, I thought. So absolutely. Definitely something you can read over and over again. I loved it.
Yeah. She has another one out called Solutions and Other Problems too.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that too.
That is a brilliant title.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thanks so much for joining, even though my credit card doesn't agree. And I hope you are joining for the June show as well. Again, that's going to be LGBTQ representation and or authors for books. And if you want to join on the live show, definitely let me know for that. And then I hope for those of you in the US, you have a great long Memorial Day weekend. And for everybody else, just generally a great weekend. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.